See, I'm a tech guy, you know. Well, better late than never for all of this. Welcome to Living and Aging with Pride. And I've got Officer Coyle, right?
Croyle. So I'm the public information officer and the training coordinator. So with South Salt Lake Police Department.
So what does that mean?
All right, so let's go back. I was a sworn police officer. I served 26 years with the Ogden Police Department. And I retired and then I came down here. So even though in my title it says public information officer,
Right.
I'm a civilian working at the police department.
Okay. So you train,
I help
you
organize.
inform, or you do all of that.
Yeah, so I help with any projects that may come through the administration office. I do the social media. I work with media outlets like yourself,
Right.
trying to get our crime prevention message out, trying to share our updates that are happening within the police department, helping the chief and the city kind of collaborate in bridging that gap so we get the information out to multiple resources.
So you're juggling between what you have to put out and what you bring in.
Correct.
And that's got to be a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, because you're taking input from the community, which may not necessarily be positive, but mostly instrumental in their own sanity, if there's such a thing. So how does that put you? Where does that put you at?
The thing that's interesting with this job is we really try and push out like a crime prevention or like a
Right.
information and tips. And so we do get feedback, and some of it isn't always positive. But again, we just still focus on what is good, what is working, what is helping the community, and how do we focus on that. And so I think we take different topics. I think, every month there is an awareness factor.
Okay.
We have, like this last week, we had kind of school bus safety awareness and trying to put information out on that you need to stop when you are behind a school bus and what are the rules about that. It's also October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so a lot of our messaging about that and the special events that are occurring in the community about domestic violence awareness and what resources we have. We are fortunate at the South Salt Lake Police Department. They have multiple victim advocates that help if you are a victim of a crime in the community, that they are assigned your case and they help you walk through it, because there's a lot of information.
Right.
There's a lot of information, but they help kind of refine that resource information to help gear it towards those victims for certain criteria to help them with the services they may need or the extra support that they may receive, or just helping them navigate through the court system.
Well, information can be a burdensome kind of a situation, because you're talking to a large population that may not understand or comprehend the information or the manner in which you're presenting. How do you shuffle through the dialogue to make sure that, first of all, the police message is out there, and then you got to come back as an interpreter of such to law enforcement, to your folks, and say, here's what's happening, here's my take, here's the way they present it.
And we are working with the city to have some more of a formalized platform, right? Like we do some of that with surveys, we do that with outreach, a lot of information, like with the census, right? Even though it's not necessarily a police issue, it is, because it helps us.
It gives you the knowledge of who's where and whatever. Okay.
Yeah. So we push that information out. So we do a collaborative message with the city and help communicate on multiple levels with our social media, with our TV, with our print, with our South Valley Journal, with doing stuff like podcasts here, and trying to get it out to as many people. Now the city is working on trying to kind of have more of an engagement with the community, either through, like our website where they can leave information and give us information back what they need. We're working on surveys. We're working on a different type of platforms, but again, it's a limited budget, it's limited resources. And so the communication team that is working with the city is kind of, we collaborate. Like the mayor's office has a communication team, the city has communication team.
Right.
And so we meet consistently. We talk about where we're at. We talk about different things. South Salt Lake is a pretty diverse community, and there's a lot of activities that go on. I just was thinking of just the stuff this week. You have the mayor has a neighborhood meeting tonight. You also we have Spooky City Hall, which is going to be Friday from
Right.
3:30 to 5 at City Hall. And so like a trunk or treat. And so there's stuff that we try and put out that's consistent on our website, right? But we also try and push the message out through our social media, or again, just trying to get the information out is important, because there is so many great activities and so many events and so many awareness opportunities to be more engaged and learn, that we want to get that all out.
And let me kind of jump in. Engagement is an interesting concept, because we, the public, doesn't necessarily think that it's policing or community policing or law enforcement, but it is that engagement that ignites a relationship. And with those relationships, we find a way to, subvert the problems and kick them in the fanny, so to speak. Because I noticed just recently at a number of occasions that I was at, there was your representatives there. Chad was there, and before that it was the chief and you and all of that kind of stuff. So that lends to open up the dialogue, because that's the most important aspect of law enforcement, is that you have a direct dialogue with the communities that you're serving and protecting, and they need to be understanding that you're willing to talk with them under all circumstances.
Correct. And we want that engagement. And just like what you said, you have Officer Keller out in the community and doing
Right.
business watch and involved with our monthly neighborhood watch. We do a monthly Zoom meeting for neighborhood watch that anybody, wherever they're at, even if they're not in our community, but want to know what's going on or have a crime prevention tip, we focus on topics of concern. And we want that communication back. Like, what are you seeing? What is your concern? What's happening in your neighborhood? And how can we, as a police department, but how can we as a city help with your quality of life in where you're living?
Right.
And we get that we have a lot of success in our neighborhood watch. We have a lot of success even in our youth community programs. We have a police athletic league program. We had last week or the week before, we had our Bowl with a Cop.
Right.
And usually in years past, when we've done this prior to COVID, we would have 20 to 25 kids that would show up, and it was very manageable. This last one, we had over 60 children show up for this Bowl with a Cop. And now we love that, but now we've got to reassess what we're doing and making sure we have all the available resources there to support that. And it was a little overwhelming, but what a great turnout and what a great opportunity to meet all these kids in our community at the elementary schools and give them an opportunity to see the police officers in a non-threatening, engaging, friendly environment. And so we can build those relationships with people in our community.
COVID, and I'm going to tie you into this, Doc. COVID is threatening the fabric of our community. And here we have law enforcement out having to mingle and intertwine themselves with the safe and the non-safe. What do you see in this that law enforcement is having to do? What do you see in this that the people need to recognize with respect to this COVID and what it's doing to all of us?
Well, this whole issue goes deep in our society, and so I'm gonna get to your question in a minute, James.
You better.
But not right away, because the first thing is my brother was a police officer. My grandfather was a police officer, and our society has mixed impressions of what policing is. And the way I see them, and I'm a privileged white male, but the way I see them is our policemen at their best are negotiators. They help support relationships in a community. They help diffuse when the relationships are going badly. They tend to support them. And a lot of policing now is to deal with those people in our community who are on the fringe, the
Right.
mental health issues or the homeless issues. And if you see policing as um, negotiating relationships, all of those relationships, every one of those relationships are under extra stress these last 18 months.
Right.
Everybody feels threatened. There is no place to hide from this virus. And so everybody sort of feels partly a victim. And they respond to that stress with becoming victimizers, either by willfully sharing their virus or perhaps becoming violent. And so our negotiators, our policemen we send out to moderate and facilitate those difficult conversations between our citizens, have to have an enormous breadth of skills. And so I'm going to ask you, how well do we train them to be the moderators of those difficult conversations?
So at South Salt Lake, they've been pretty proactive over the years. There is what's called CIT Utah, which is crisis intervention training. And we have a significant amount of our officers that are trained in that, which is a specialized training. And then they also have to maintain certification. And then over this last year, the legislative session, during that legislative session, they've increased it. So we have a mandatory 4 hours annually on autism, 4 hours annually on crisis intervention or mental health issues or mental health resources. And then we also have de-escalation training and arrest control. How do we try and when we encounter individuals that are in crisis, how do we, instead of amping it up, we are working to de-escalate it, to diffuse it, to come to some type of common ground. Now, granted, some of these may be criminal acts and we need to address that,
Right.
in addition to maybe somebody with a mental illness. But there is resources and there's more training that we try to address it on the mental illness side and focus it on that way versus a criminal action. And there's different things that are happening along the state. There's mental health courts. There's different types of stuff that help when we do engage people in crisis. What other resources are out there? And it's not just a police issue. We get called because we're first responders, but really it really does lend itself to another more specialized trained officer, or not officer, but another clinical, more trained person to address those issues. And we basically can triage it, and we can provide limited basic de-escalation and verbal judo, if you want to call it, or crisis negotiation. Any of those types of trainings are all out there that a variety of the officers have taken to help them communicate with people that are in crisis.
Do you do anything with, some of the community leaders I would expect are privy to this training and this approach to community policing, but a lot of these organizations, like the people at the homeless shelter, the management there, they probably would be served better to understand exactly what you folks do so that they can manage the body of people that they're in control of.
And we are collaboratively working with them. We have a sergeant and officers assigned to the Homeless Resource Center that work with the staff there and work within the community and work within the city people that address that. So they all are on board. The crisis, the CIT Utah, they provide that training. You can get on their website, but they also provide that training for non-sworn people.
So if you got a concern and you're wondering what the police are doing or not doing, in your opinion, you can go take one of these classes. You can take this training and understand what takes place, and it will help you be better fit to understand the process, and most importantly, to oversee your community with a respect for what needs to happen.
Yeah, because it's always about learning, right? We're always trying to
Right.
continue to strive to excel, trying to improve processes, improve our policies, our procedures, and we always are looking at how can we do things better,
Right.
right? And so we do that, but are we as citizens or good community members doing that? What can we do to be better community members? What can we do to be better citizens of this country? What can we do to make a positive impact? It just takes one random act of kindness, right? And we talk about that a lot lately, especially during COVID.
Absolutely.
But those types of things, if we focus on those things, I think, we'll have a great community partnership with those that, when you talk about that maybe on the fringe, we have that opportunity to have that. It's not always positive. I can't always say we're not going to take people to jail, because that is our job. That's what we're employed to do. But we can do it with compassion. We can do it with respect, and we can do it to the best of our abilities by doing it the right way.
Well, I had a conversation with the chief earlier today because he had been out of town, and he was just calling me and to follow up, because I was telling him I had talked with Chad and so forth. And I asked him, how the heck you got all these good people working for you? But I told him I was ticked off about it because I can't find them. I'm dealing with knuckleheads, and he's got all of them. So I want to do a good turn. I know that one of the responsibilities for you guys is to go out there and make sure people get rid of their drugs, their old medicines. And I'm going to gift the police department with a case of these little packages that you can pass to people on the street. They can put their drugs in and dispose of them.
Perfect. Thank you. And I will say this too, since we are talking about that, we did have our national DEA sponsors it, right? We had that on Saturday, but in the lobby at the police department, we do have a container for citizens of South Salt Lake that can bring their unused medication.
Right.
There's certain criteria. We can't take some of your, but we have stuff there. Look at our website, look also at our Facebook page, because we put all that information out on what type of medication we can take in. And there's some that we can't. But yes, thank you for providing us with this.
There's a box right there, and I'm going to give you that whole box. But I think this is our gift to law enforcement to help ease the pain, because I know this is a scary thing too, is collecting people's drugs and all that stuff. So what do we need to look out for as a community, as citizens in the community, that will be beneficial and helpful to law enforcement?
We do want you to call in on suspicious activity. We do want you to report. I think we don't have people as getting as involved, and we can't prevent crime without the community's help.
Right.
We can be reactive. We can take police reports. We can even do proactive stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it takes a concerted effort from the community members to call in, report suspicious activity. I know there is some concern with that, and they can remain anonymous, but we need the community members to be an active participant. We do crime prevention tips all the time. We talk about, we're coming into daylight savings, right? And we talk about, it is darker. It's darker in the morning. It's darker at night. Do you have your LED light? We have some that are complimentary. We passed them out during our National Night Out. We have some extras. You could get hold of Officer Chad Keller. You could pick one up at the police department, but having those lights on for a deterrent. We talk a lot about crime prevention through environmental design. It's called SEPTED, right? It's how do you take care of your home and your property to prevent crime? Do you have bushes that are overhanging? Do you have not a clear line of sight? Are those some of the things? Just lighting alone is significant. And so when we look at some of those things on a crime prevention measure, look at some of those crime prevention measures you could do as a property owner or as a renter or living in this community to help deter crime.
And that's another thing, because I know Mayor Wood has got a whole campaign for walkways and lighting up the area and all that stuff. So take a look at the master plan, if you will, for South Salt Lake, and you'll see that they've instituted a whole plan to make more walkways and light up places and all of those kinds of things. But what you see can set you free if you pay attention to the law and you manage to follow that rule. Don't be afraid to go and talk to law enforcement about helping you to support your community, because as an older adult, we need to have a safe community, and only you can make it safe. Wow, I'm going to make a record out of that. That was really good, you know? The doctor, he wants, he'll wait till we get off and he'll tell me, never say anything like that again.
Your eloquence always surprises me, James.
I know nothing. That's why I sit in this seat. You know, it's you guys that have the knowledge and information. So what can we see coming from the law enforcement, from the police department, South Salt Lake Police Department, in the next few weeks that we need to pay attention to? The holidays are fast coming upon us. Crime rate is going to rise a little bit because people are being ringing those doorbells and taking those packages and breaking into cars. What do you got for us?
So I would say we are coming into that. Okay. We're coming into that season. We're coming into the holiday season. There's, I think with COVID, we had an increase in online sales, and a lot of people have navigated, we call them porch pirates, or people that are stealing packages from,
Right.
But notifying somebody, I mean, some of these places, they'll take a picture of it and tell you when it's being delivered. And so if you can get there or have somebody pick it up and remove it from site, or find an alternate place to have them maybe around the side, not necessarily right on the front porch, to the side of the house, those types of things. When we talk about traveling, and you are doing holiday shopping, when you put your packages in your car, put them in the trunk, try and, obviously you might not be able to fit everything under your seat or hide it, but you put things in your trunk if you can. Or you may have to take multiple trips to take your valuables out of your car. And we say take your valuables out of your car all the time anyway, because a lot of crime is crime of opportunity. And so if you harden your target, you lock your doors, you put your windows up, you put lights on, you do those crime prevention measures, that's hardening your target. So what you can do, park under the lights when you're at the grocery store, park, come out with multiple people, don't, walk by yourself. There's a lot of things out there. We have a lot of good crime prevention tips. If your property, let's say your property is stolen, there's different stuff that we have on package theft that's on our website. UPS has a different website to report a loss. Amazon has a different website to report a loss. The post office has a different site. And if you're going to be away for an extended period of time, get hold of the post office and have your mail deferred, and they hold it for you. So those are all types of things. I mean, I could go on. We could do a I could go on about crime prevention measures, because there's so many things that there's small things that we could do to prevent some of that.
Maybe that's something we'll do. We'll write up something and then I'll post it, and we'll go through a checklist. Check your list. One thing for certain, when you order something on the internet, take a picture of what you ordered. Take a picture of that serial number that's on that order form, and you'll have that just in case you don't get the package. You'll be able to say, this is what it looks like. This is the number for what it was. And here's how much I paid for it. And this is when it was supposed to be delivered. And now you're giving them specific information to track and find out if something is stolen. In a lot of places, they go to a fence, and that fence could be your local pawn shop. And so they can go to that pawn shop and follow up on that information that you've given them, and really talk in specifics, and not, if you see something come in, look suspicious, that's an interesting phraseology, if you will. So there's a lot you can do, but most importantly, prepare yourself, prevent putting your stuff in bird's view so that no one can look through the window as they're walking by and see the opportunity. Make them have to discover the opportunity, and that's what's going to get them arrested.
Yeah, have them work We don't, I mean, there's some creative criminals out there, but let's try
Right.
and shut them down by just doing some crime prevention measures.
Absolutely. Doc, any great words of wisdom from you from the medical side of the room?
No, I mean, our police, and I thank them because without them, we would all live frightened every moment of every day.
Absolutely.
And I also want to thank them. The current scourge of the COVID virus is threatening us all, and the police have been part of the solution of protecting us from that. Kind of sharing the words of, using masks, keeping distance, not yelling at the person at the store when they won't let you in without a mask. I mean, our police force has been helping us negotiate this other threat and helping to protect us from even the virus. So
it is quite amazing what we have in our community service operations, both police departments, the health department. We don't pay enough gratitude, and I too want to thank you very much. And you do a wonderful job, and I'm just so pleased to be living in this particular community, South Salt Lake, because nice people get things done, and you guys are representing the nicest group of people. And I know Mike Brown is going to be angry at me because I told him he was a nice guy. But I find law enforcement to be very good people. Let's close this out. If there's something we need to pay attention to as we close this little talk out, we're going to do it again and again. And next time my tech guy will be here and I won't be fumbling around with the mics and all of that stuff.
I look forward to having further conversations. There's a lot of information out there, and we can pick topics, but I would say look at our website, follow us on our social media. Some of the tips are really good. Some are it's just another tool in your toolbox, right?
Right.
And we talk about what you can and can't do and what do you need in the sense of an emergency. And so we appreciate the donation and we can utilize that. I think we get a lot of use out of that working with our homeless resource officers. And I appreciate the kind words because law enforcement has had some significant challenges over the last couple of years. And it is nice to be in a community that supports us and that supports what we're trying to accomplish, because there's not one officer that we're seeing, right? That isn't generally concerned for the well-being of the community members and wants to see the best outcome. But again, sometimes that best outcome does mean you're being arrested in those things. And so those are hard teaching moments, and those are hard critical incidences that occur that we still have to deal with. And but we do appreciate the support because we do have a tough job. And it has been challenging over the last couple of years.
Is there anything that we probably missed a lot of things, but if there's something specific you want to say before you close out that you think it's important for us to get on this little piece?
I don't really have something specific. I would say get involved, be aware. There is so many great nonprofits and community organizations that are helping. We look at all the stuff that's recently happening in Afghanistan, and there's a lot of refugees that are moving into this area.
Big time. I think we brought 1,500 or 2,000 or something.
And there we have in South Salt Lake, we have that international charter school. And so those resources, so they're going to need support. And so if that is something that moves you, get involved, donate to one of those organizations. They're looking for furniture and clothing and supplies, because they imagine just leaving everything that you have and uprooting and going to some other country that you don't speak the language, you don't understand the culture, you don't. And so I would say be kind to your neighbors, reach out to help when you can, and look at people as human beings.
And I want to tell all you young bucks and young ladies out there that law enforcement is a great career to pursue. And when you just think about police officers, that's just one segment of the process. Get involved in law enforcement. You can find there's a wealth of careers and opportunities. You can make money and you can take care of your families and you will be healthy. Most importantly, you will be helping other people. So don't look the other way when you think about what your career curve might be. Look into law enforcement because we need all of you. We need that diversity in the mix, but more importantly, we need you conscious of what it takes to make a great community. And that's a great law enforcement branch. And that's what we have in South Salt Lake. You want to close out with something, Doc?
No, I think we've already shared all the wisdom that we have.
Great. And we're going to go flying soon. This is my flying partner. We go flying
That's good.
on the weekends. He pilots mostly and then gives it to me and I get a little nervous. So again, you think of things to say to me and tell me, and I'll sit here and keep my mouth shut and let you go because we need to hear your voice. We need to know what's happening and we need to be in gratitude for the great work you do. Thank you very much. I'm James Brown and you're not, and this has been Living and Aging with Pride, South Salt Lake Police Department. Don't forget it, remember it, because it's keeping you safe. Until next time, walk the line correctly.